Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch Guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live this weekend for all the F1 action as we were last weekend. All three practices, the qualifying as well as the race, kept keeping you up to date with all the latest news, timings, as well as live updates during all these sessions. So just, go and make sure you follow the channel and you'll be able to keep up to track with all the action. Now, the question is, how can you watch all of it live and in HD? And the good news is you can watch it on free. It is being shown on two free-to-air broadcasters. Today I'm going to show you how to use ORF, which is an Austrian free-to-air broadcaster. And so if you're in Austria, you can access it for free. If you're outside of Austria, however, you will need to use something called a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Now, we recommend ExpressVPN. All the links are in the description in terms of the guide how to watch all of the action. So go and check out the description. So first things first, you're going to get yourself ExpressVPN. That's the link in the description, and you're going to install it. Now, as you can see, that is what it looks like. So you're going to go to the three dots over here once you've installed, and click on the right-hand side there. That's going to bring up all the various locations and stuff like that, which shows you where all the various locations are. And you're going to click Austria, and you're then going to click this big green button over here and to connect it. And as long as that is connected, you can then go to the ORF website, and you can stream all the action. That's off the app. So you can see the HD ORF. So this is currently being live streamed right now. Unfortunately, if you're outside Austria and you don't have a VPN, if you go to that page, the stream will not work. And so you have to be connected to a VPN to make it basically geolocate your device to make it seem as if you are in that location. If you do it without a VPN, this is what it looks like. See, it comes up there with a warning base. It says because you're not connected over there, you can no longer watch it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Apart from that, smash like on the video, subscribe. Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. For today's How to Watch guide, the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, back-to-back Grand Prix weekends. We had Monaco last weekend, which saw Max Verstappen coming out in top in the biggest race of the year. And this weekend we are in Spain. And the big question is, how can I watch all the action? Well, first of all, if you'd like to keep up to date with everything, make sure you smash a like on the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live this weekend for all the F1 action as we were last weekend. All three practices, the qualifying as well as the race, kept keeping you up to date with all the latest news, timings, as well as live updates during all these sessions. So just, go and make sure you follow the channel and you'll be able to keep up to track with all the action. Now, the question is, how can you watch all of it live and in HD? And the good news is you can watch it on free. It is being shown on two free-to-air broadcasters. Today I'm going to show you how to use ORF, which is an Austrian free-to-air broadcaster. And so if you're in Austria, you can access it for free. If you're outside of Austria, however, you will need to use something called a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Now, we recommend ExpressVPN. All the links are in the description in terms of the guide, how to watch all of the action. So go and check out the description. So first things first, you're going to get yourself ExpressVPN. That's the link in the description, and you're going to install it. Now, as you can see, that is what it looks like. So you're going to go to the three dots over here once you've installed, and click on the right hand side there. That's going to bring up all the various locations and stuff like that, which shows you where all the various locations are. And you're going to click Austria, and you're then going to click this big green button over here to connect it. And as long as that is connected, you can then go to the ORF website and you can stream all the action. That's off the app. So you can see the HD ORF. So this is currently being live streamed right now. Unfortunately, if you're outside of Australia and you don't have a VPN, if you go to that page, the stream will not work. And so you have to be connected to a VPN to make it basically geolocate your device to make it seem as if you are in that location. If you do it without a VPN, this is what it looks like. See, it comes up there with the warning base. It says because you're not connected over there, you can no longer watch it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Apart from that, smash like on the video, subscribe.
Spanish Grand Prix. We have a few minutes left to go until the FP2 session goes live. We are just waiting for those pictures to come from the Formula One stream at the moment, but we should have that very soon. Just waiting, as I said, for those last few minutes until we do get that coverage showing. But it has been a very interesting FP1 session out in Spain today, with a lot of looming clouds overhead. So possibly some rain coming in very soon. We should have to wait and see if that does come in, but we will keep you posted on that for sure. We should have that coverage starting quite shortly, but until then, we will talk you through the finishes of our FP1 session. We did have Max Verstappen topping the time boards with a 1:44.6, then closely followed behind by Sergio Perez. I say closely, but he was about 0.7 seconds off of his teammate. He was not having the greatest day out there on track, unfortunately. Then we did have, I think it was Esteban Ocon in P3. He was having quite a good day out there for the Alpine, putting in quite some good times there with 1:15.4 being his fastest lap time, 0.1 seconds behind Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. Then we had Nick de Vries, a very good FP1 session for Nick. Not very normal for him to be quite so far up the timesheets in that first FP1 session, but he did finish down in fourth. Then we have Pierre Gasly fifth, Fernando Alonso in sixth, Kevin Magnussen in seventh, Charles Leclerc in eighth, Carlos Sainz in ninth, George Russell in 10th. Quite interesting that we had Fernando Alonso down in P6, not performing as well as we've seen him perform so far this season. Surely he is just trying to get to the bottom of his new upgrades that Aston Martin did bring to this race weekend. They brought a new revised floor from what we are hearing, so they'll be trying to get to the bottom of that before qualifying tomorrow evening. Then also a bit of a talking point is the fact that we have both Ferraris only sitting in P8 and P9 at the moment. Charles Leclerc in P8, Carlos Sainz down in P9. Leclerc's first lap was only a 1:15.6, 1 seconds, 1.088 seconds off of the pace of Max Verstappen at the moment. Quite a bit of a head scratcher at the moment coming from Ferrari to be so far off the pace in FP1. Hopefully that's also down to them just trying to get to the bottom of their new upgrade package that they have brought with them this race weekend. They have brought a revised floor, revised side pods, as well as new wing mirrors that we have seen so far. There may still be a few small updates that we just haven't managed to spot just yet, but as soon as we do, we will let you know about that for sure. Sainz down in P9 with a 1:15.7, 1.1 seconds off of the pace of Max Verstappen. Then down in P10, George Russell. The first of the Mercedes cars at the moment, not seeming like their new upgrades are also bringing them too much close to the top of the pack. It looks like we should have a lot of running still coming from those Mercedes drivers to be able to just extract the best of their package at the moment. In 11th place, we have the first of the McLaren's, Lando Norris, with a 1:15.7, 1.17 off of Max Verstappen's time at the moment. Not too bad from the the McLaren driver at the moment, but he is currently ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton is down in P12 with a 1:15.8, 1.2 seconds off of Max Verstappen's time, 0.1 seconds off of his teammate's time. In 13th, we have Zhou Guanyu with a 1:15.9. Yuki Tsunoda down in 14th with a 1:15.9 as well. Yuki Tsunoda quite far off the pace of his teammate Nick de Vries. Nick de Vries clearly quite enjoying this Spanish Grand Prix circuit, having put himself so far up the grid, up in P4. After Tsunoda, we have Lance Stroll, once again far off the pace of his teammate Fernando Alonso. Lance Stroll having a dismal season so far, really being outperformed by his... Well, I keep calling him the wise old fox, Fernando Alonso, currently in P6, but Lance Stroll once again all the way down in P15, not having a comparable day at all to Fernando Alonso. Valtteri Bottas down in P16, followed by Oscar Piastri in P17. Nico Hulkenberg, the second of those Haas drivers, down in P18, and then P19 and 20 is made up of those two Williams drivers at the moment. We do currently have this Formula One stream starting ahead of us now, so we should see some pictures very soon from the Spanish Grand Prix circuit. Will it be raining or will it be sunny? Once again, in this session, we have 10 minutes left to go until the next session gets underway. Not too long left now, but as I said, we will have to wait and see if we do have clear running weather at the moment, or if it is going to be just once again rainy like we saw at the end of Monaco Grand Prix. We'll just have to wait and see at the moment. Just waiting a few more seconds for the images to start showing up, but I should be able to tell you in about tuning over this Catalonia circuit, but at the moment, still dry. Like we should get some dry running in the second session. Whether we will get rain throughout the session, we'll have to wait and see. It still looks like it is a bit of a looming possibility out there. Just watching at the moment over the grid, everyone trying to get ready to get running in this next session. Just chatting at the moment to a Aston Martin colleague, someone there in that Aston Martin garage or in their hospitality area. This race weekend is looking like it's going to be a great weekend to be watching there on track. Should get some great running from hopefully all of the teams. With all of these upgrades, it is a bit of an unknown at the moment who is going to make up our top three in terms of constructors. I mean, Red Bull are still looking like they are the dominant team out there, currently topping those timesheets from FP1. But it looks like we still have a bit of a unknown as to the rest of the grid order, really, because Mercedes have brought those big upgrades. Ferrari have brought noticeable upgrades to this race weekend, bringing in those new side pods for them, bringing they been duped as new Red Bull side pods, of course, as well as we have the Aston Martins bringing new floors and a few other teams down the grid also bringing some extras to this race weekend. Just having a bit of a look here at a side-by-side between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz running out here. Charles running the old spec at the moment and Carlos Sainz running the new spec side pods. So just trying to do a lot of data correlation between their new and old spec cars. It looks like the new specification, just looking at the shape of that bodywork at the moment, it really does quite look similar to the Red Bull car, whereas the old spec just tapers a lot less than the new spec. It goes all the way to the back of the car, whereas the new spec does taper down quite a lot. That new Red Bull inspired side pod, though, the car does look a lot more stable. It looks like the ride height is a little bit higher, but I'm sure they will be able to run it a lot lower once they get into quali sims. We should see a bit of quali sims taking place in this session, hopefully. This session will be a lot more indicative of what they will be having tomorrow in terms of tire degradation, in terms of temperature on the track. Well, that is whether we get that rain or not coming in, but we shall have to wait and see still for a little bit. Looking neat and tight, well, neat and tidy, I say. Looking dry at the moment, they're out on track, so we should see them getting running quite soon. We have 8 minutes left to go until FP2 gets underway. We have a few people watching alongside us at the moment. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe to our channel, as well as let me know in the comment section where you are watching from. There's also a description down in, well, there's also a link down in our video's description, how to watch the Spanish Grand Prix. There's a little video there from from my colleague Stephen there, letting you know how to use ExpressVPN, one of our partners here on the channel, where you can go and subscribe to that and get access to the Formula One content. Just looking at some more pictures here of the track, the wind has picked up quite a lot, so that could also be affecting our drivers out here today. Lots of side winds could cause their cars to be quite twitchy out on track, but we will have to see what happens when they do get running out on track again. We have a poll running out in our comment section at the moment. The question to all of you is, do any teams have a chance of catching the Red Bulls this weekend? Please do let us know what you think. Vote in our poll, as well as let us know down in the comments of any questions that you have that are Formula One related, as well as just letting us know if you're enjoying the content or where you are tuning in from. Always great to know where you're all watching from, as well as what your opinions are on the drivers on the grid at the moment. Just hearing from a mechanic from Aston Martin about these upgrades that they have brought so far to this race weekend, already noticeably taking a lot of positives from the chicane section. They seem to be quite happy with the way their car is performing there. That will certainly be bringing a lot of confidence to the Aston Martin garage. Whether that will be able to allow them to be more competitive, we'll have to wait and see. Because at the moment, they are still quite a little bit off the pace of the Red Bulls, with Fernando Alonso down in P6 and Lance Stroll all the way down in P15. 5 minutes left until we get underway for FP2. But as I said, please do let us know down in the comment section where you are tuning in from, as well as who you want to see taking a couple of timesheets this race weekend. Of course, there should be, well, the fan favorites for this race weekend, especially here in Spain, will be Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz, both racing here at their home Grand Prix in Spain. Whether they'll be able to actually compete, though, for that top step is another question. The Ferraris seeming to be, as well as the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso, seems to be quite off the pace of the Red Bulls at the moment. The Ferraris down in 8th and 9th at the moment, Charles Leclerc in 8th and Carlos Sainz in 9th, and the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso only in P6 at the moment. So still a little bit of an unknown, but hopefully they'll be able to extract the most from their package and really get down to grips and be able to challenge the front with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. We currently have the rolling titles going ahead of us, so we are very, very close to getting underway here for the Spanish Grand Prix FP2 session. Anyways, though, welcome back to the Catalunya circuit, known as the Formula One AWS Gran Premio de España, taking place here in Barcelona, Spain. This is the 8th round of the Formula One calendar. Currently, the 8th round of 23 rounds for our Grand Prix calendar. There have been some changes being made to the circuit, with turn 13, that chicane into turn 13 now being completely removed, and it is just a straight, well, a turn that goes straight onto the main DRS straight, start-finish straight. Our track distance is 4.6 kilometers or 2.8 miles for those of you out there who speak in miles. Full throttle is for around 56.95% of the circuit, with our current track lap record being from Lewis Hamilton in 2021 with a 1 minute 16.741 seconds. Will we be seeing those times being beaten this weekend? We will have to wait and see. Still currently quite far off of that current fastest time. The top speed on this circuit is 307.2 kilometers an hour, 190.8 miles per hour. There are 14 turns on this Formula One circuit with an elevation of 29.63 meters. Quite a little bit less than what we had in Monaco. Monaco had about 48 meters of elevation. Not a very long circuit by modern standards at all, but it does make quite exciting racing here in Spain. We've had great races here in the past, notably from Max Verstappen, who took his maiden win in the Red Bull team on his debut in, I think it was 2017. We should see quite a few simulation runs taking place in this session. As I said earlier, it is much more indicative of our running that we will get tomorrow evening in qualifying. Track temperatures should be very similar, as well as tire degradation should be very, very similar to what we will see in qualifying tomorrow evening. I see we now have our timing board live and waiting for the session to get underway. Not long left to go. We have 2 minutes left until this session gets underway. Just taking a bit of a think back to races of past. Michael Schumacher had some great races here in Spain in the past, as well as, of course, I already mentioned that debut win from Max Verstappen. That day was certainly one to remember. I mean, Mercedes both took each other out in the third corner. No one really expected that to happen, but there was a massive coming together from, it was, if I remember correctly, yes, it was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton that crashed into each other coming into turn 4. These cars this year still show that it is very difficult to overtake on these circuits. I mean, these cars are just so wide and so long. They certainly need to make provisions in terms of the footprint of the car, but unfortunately, no plans as of yet to reduce that footprint. We saw in Monaco how difficult these cars make it for overtaking. They are just absolutely huge. I mean, it is just going to be quite difficult to get much closer racing until we do reduce that footprint of the car. As we now see the first cars getting underway for this practice session, Nick de Vries not wasting any time, getting straight out onto the circuit. It looks like he is on a set of test tires at the moment, though, from Pirelli. They have no markings on the sides. It looks like a few teams are just getting that Pirelli tire testing out of the way before the session takes place too far. I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns going into the session. Will we get some rain further on in the session, or will it be a dry session throughout? As we see Fernando Alonso doing a practice start on his tires at the moment. A lot of drivers, as I said, out on non-marked sidewall tires. It does say, though, on our graphics that they are out on hards, but at the moment, they are all doing non-marked tires, which will be Pirelli test tires for the session. Pirelli often likes to do tests at the circuit, as we do get quite a lot of running in testing at the beginning of the season, as well as then they can correlate that data to this race weekend here in Spain. It allows, of course, the mechanics and the engineers at Pirelli to get some good data, as well as allows them to make some changes going down throughout the rest of the season, whether they should introduce these new tires or whether they should go back to old specs. Looks like everyone at the moment is out on those Pirelli test tires, except for the Ferraris, who I've seen go out immediately on a set of softs. Lots of fans looking very excited to have cars back out on track here in Spain. Of course, we're also very happy to have them back out on track at the moment to watch alongside all of you. Looks like we have pretty much everyone out on track at the moment. Very, very busy track right now. We have Joe Russell, Leclerc, Norris, Hülkenberg, Alonso, Bottas, Ocon, Tsunoda, Piastri, Gasly, Hamilton, Sargent, Magnussen, Nick de Vries, Alex Albon, Sergio Perez, and Max Verstappen out on track. So very, very busy out there at the moment. There's a massive train, though, coming into the final sector. Looks like everyone's just trying to create a bit of a gap for themselves before they get out on their first flying laps. Hamilton has started a flying lap at the moment, but we shall wait and see till we get that timing up on our boards. Following on with the crowd favorite at the moment, Carlos Sainz in his title challenger, unfortunately not putting up much of a title fight at the moment. Hopefully we'll get to see the Ferraris being able to be a bit more competitive later on in the season if they do extract the maximum performance out of these new Red Bull style side pods. I'm just hearing test tires have been introduced here in FP2 because Pirelli are apparently having a bit of a head scratcher, as these cars are already a lot faster than they expected. Certainly a bit of an interesting prospect to hear from Pirelli. I mean, not necessarily a bad problem to have, having these cars being faster than expected, but that does mean that we do get these Pirelli test tires being run on race weekends. We also have a Pirelli test run, or Pirelli test day happening after this race in Spain. We have in the Mercedes team, at least, we have I say Max Verstappen, sorry. We have George Russell and Mick Schumacher taking part in that test. Carlos Sainz coming through the middle sector at the moment, looking neat and tidy, having a little bit of bouncing through turn, I think it is turn 11. Looking very neat and tidy, though, through turn 12. At the moment, it was turn 10. We had a bit of an issue. Oh, getting so close there to the gravel, but keeping it neat and tidy, not going in. Just getting so close to dipping a tyre in there at the moment. Max Verstappen, though, taking the top of the time boards right now with a 1:15.6 as Carlos Sainz crosses the finish line, puts himself first with a 1:14.999, just breaking that 1:15 barrier at the moment. Lando Norris also finishing up a lap at the moment on a set of mediums. He is now put himself into P6 as we have Charles Leclerc on that set of softs with a 1:15.6. Currently on those test tyres, we have Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, Fernando Alonso, George Russell, Nick de Vries, Logan Sargent, Lance Stroll, Lewis Hamilton, and Sergio Perez. A lot of drivers deciding to get those test tyres out of the way for the session. Every single driver will have to go through a set of those test tyres before the end of the session. It is not known whether those tyres are a set of mediums, softs, or hards. They can be any compound that Pirelli decides. None of the tyres that the drivers are racing on at the moment are necessarily the same. They could either be on a different set of tyres or the same. So at the moment, it looks like Max Verstappen could be on a test set of softs or mediums, as he has currently put himself into third position with a 1:15.655. Charles Leclerc on that set of softs has put himself second with a 1:15.6, and Carlos Sainz also on a test tyre has put himself at a 1:14.999. Watching an onboard of George Russell at the moment as he comes through that final corner on the track. Let's see what he does. He gets a little bit onto the curbs there, and I see him saying there quite a lot of bottoming. I mean, we thought Mercedes had been able to sort out their porpoising issues, but it looks like now they're having a lot of issues with bottoming out on their car. Of course, they have brought massive upgrades to the Monaco Grand Prix, and they are still trying to sort out those upgrades now and get some more correlation down to that new floor, their new side pods, as well as those new little wing elements that are all over the car. Pierre Gasly on a hot lap at the moment, not putting together a brilliant middle sector, but up on his first sector. As we have Lando Norris putting in a very good time at the moment, a 1:16.8 on that set of, I think he is on a set of test tyres at the moment. Or is it a set of, no, he's on a set of mediums at the moment, sorry. A lot of different tyres being run at the moment, certainly very tricky to navigate, I'm sure, for many fans, but at least it is pretty easy to see for me at the moment. Unfortunately, our timing boards do not show test tyres, so where it says a set of hards, that could be a test tyre for people out on track. Sergio Perez on a hot lap at the moment on a set of test tyres as well, putting in a personal best first sector. Let's see what it can do in the middle sector. 1.5 seconds off the pace at the moment on those test tyres, looking very tricky there through turn 12, making his way into turn 13 at the moment before coming up to that sweeping right-hand corner where the chicane was taken out. Now turn 13 and 14, the final corner on the circuit, having to back off a little bit into turn 14, otherwise he was going to lose the rear end of the car, as he does finish now in P14, 1.8 seconds off the pace right now. Lando Norris puts himself up into fourth place at the moment with a 1:15 at the moment. So currently looking at Charles Leclerc, who's on a preparation for a hot lap, starting his hot lap now. Let's see what he is able to do on this lap. Leclerc climbing the hill now through turns 1, 2, and 3. Looking neat and tidy, though, in that first sector. Approaching that first marker now, 0.2 seconds off of the fastest time at the moment. He is on a set of soft tyres, so we should see quite a good lap being put in from him. Making his way now through turn 5, neat and tidy. No extra fighting from him on the steering wheel, making his way now through turn 7 and 8. A super tricky left and right hander. Such a tricky turn into turn 7 to keep your rear stable. Now making his way through turn 9, that very long right hander down into the DRS straight. There's a lot of high flow vis paint on his car at the moment, trying to see the difference, the major difference between that new floor and the old floor that they have been running. Charles Leclerc currently personal besting in the first and second sector, but not able to challenge Carlos Sainz's tires or Carlos Sainz's time at the moment on those test tires. Let's say where he puts himself at the moment. He is currently 0.2 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. He does have a fastest final sector though. Oscar Piastri has now finally gotten out of the pits and gotten out onto track. We should see him putting in some times very soon. Just watching Pierre Gasly going very wide there through turn 9, also bottoming out his car a little bit there over the curbs. Hopefully he won't cause too much damage to his floor, but he will not be wanting to do that too many times out here today. Ooh, lots of little bits of carbon just watching that on board of him. Lots of little carbon flecks being spouted out as he did go over those curbs. We should have Mark joining us very soon, but we should see just fixing a few things on our end at the moment, but we should have that all up and running for you very soon. Fernando Alonso, though, currently sitting in P2. We should have Mark, though, as I said, joining us very soon here on commentary, just waiting for him to get his PC up and running, and then we should see him here on stream. As I do see him now next to me. Hello, Mark. Welcome on the stream.
Yeah, sorry, I was just sorting that out. It's just a small issue outside, all fixed now, so we will continue on as per usual. Hello, everybody, and yeah, we were talking about testing tires. Yeah, they were running testing tires in the first session as well. Lots of people running test tires. They were testing hard, an alternative version of hard tires. So those are being used in the first session, and I see that they are being used in the second session as well.
Yes, very interesting to see test tires being used in the session. I mean, the last time I saw test tires was, I think, last year in Spain. But at least it seems to be kind of shaking up the boards a little bit, with the Ferraris being quite competitive so far in the session.
Sorry, I'm just sorting out one small thing this side. Just...
No problem. Just watching Max Verstappen encountering a little bit of traffic at the moment, not getting the optimal final sector in because he got a little bit blocked by George Russell, but I'm sure that will not affect his time too much. Max Verstappen is currently in P5, Fernando Alonso P3, Carlos Sainz P2, and Charles Leclerc P1 at the moment. Oh, George Russell just having a little bit of a moment, out there with Oscar Piastri. George Russell being pushed all the way out onto the gravel because Piastri just did not get off of the racing line. Max Verstappen currently at the top of the time boards with a 1:14.9. Carlos Sainz closely following behind, 0.031 seconds behind at the moment for Carlos Sainz, who is in the pits. Sainz in the pits, Leclerc in the pits, Norris is in the pits as well at the moment. Esteban Ocon, Hulkenberg, Zhou, Bottas, Albon, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Gasly, De Vries, and Sargent are all in the pits at the moment. George Russell, though, all the way down in P20th right now, Mark.
Yeah, indeed. I'm seeing that at the moment, and I don't think it's too much to worry about yet. I think towards the end of the session, if that's still the case, then we start to worry. But interested to see the Ferraris and the Red Bulls times when they're so close together, yet Ferraris have run on soft tyres and the Red Bulls on mediums.
Yes, I mean, the Red Bulls, we already know that they're going to be so competitive out here, but yeah, bit of a head scratcher to see Ferrari so far off the pace. I mean, they're close on pace on softs, but I mean, they should be a lot faster on softs.
Yeah, I mean, Alonso, sorry, I just see he's put in a 4th fastest time there on mediums as well. It's just gone ahead of Perez, who's now moved into 5th. But yeah, on the soft tyres, Ferrari should be a little bit quicker. I mean, we were seeing, looking at times earlier in the day in session 1, we saw very low 114s from the Red Bulls on softs. So if the Ferraris have only got times in the 115s on softs, and it's also later in the day where it should be cooler, it's a little bit of a concern, because I think the Red Bulls, when they put on their soft tyres, they're going to go to low 114s, maybe even sub 114s. So quite a bit of pace still to be found.
Yes, certainly a lot of pace to be found. I mean, we're getting very close to the fastest time from the last session. I mean, the fastest time last session was a 1:14.6 from Max Verstappen. Just watching here, Lewis Hamilton getting a little bit wiggly into that braking zone in turn 10 and going just ever so slightly out of track limits there. So if that was qualifying, his lap time will have been deleted. It is bouncing a lot, Mark, and bottoming out over those high-speed corners.
I was seeing this in session 1, is that quite a few teams were having issues with it. I don't necessarily think it's a car issue for any particular constructor. I think it's more of an issue generally with the track and all of these cars, because many teams have had this issue. So, I mean, teams in the first session had this issue. Red Bull had an issue with it. Mercedes had an issue with it. I think McLaren had a bit of an issue with it. And Ferrari definitely had an issue with it as well. Yeah, everybody was pretty much complaining about it. So, really, I think it's more a general adjustment for the cars. I think just because of that new section of the track, hitting at a lot higher speeds than they're used to, I think maybe it's a little bit rough out there, and they do just seem to be bottoming onto the curb a little bit as they're coming around that final corner.
Yeah, I mean, we're currently following along with Yuki Tsunoda, who, I mean, Nick de Vries had a brilliant first session, but Yuki just seemed well off the pace. I mean, Yuki's raced here, I think this is his 3rd time racing here in a Formula 1 car. He should really be quite comfortable here by now. I mean, what do you think, Mark? Do you think Yuki Tsunoda should be closer to Nick de Vries?
I think Yuki Tsunoda there's lots still to be proved with regards to his driving, because a lot of people keep saying, oh no, he's the next best thing, and Honda putting lots of money into him, as you say. I just think he still hasn't shown to me like much that's getting me excited, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, I mean, he's in such high demand from Honda. Honda will pretty much make sure he ends up in whatever seat is available in a team that they supply engines to. So he's going to be in the sport as long as Honda's here, because they put so much money into him in the junior divisions. They're going to really want to keep him in the sport. But, I mean, as you say, he's really not performing very well at the moment. Last weekend in Monaco was absolutely dismal. And, I mean, Nick de Vries was just able to keep it together. And Yuki, he just gets a bit too hot-headed under the helmet.
Yeah, I think Yuki Tsunoda does need to just basically needs to mature a bit. I think he's still very young, and he's definitely shown that he can do it, but yeah, the question mark is still out for me there. So we're just watching a replay here of the Merc just bottoming out in that last corner. You can just see it just keeps sliding across. Science also on the radio saying maybe check the floor just in case. You see again, it's everybody seems to be having that issue where they just seem to be scraping the floor quite a bit.
It seems like the Ferraris and the Mercedes are having major bottoming out issues. The Red Bulls still seem very comfortable out there. I mean, I didn't expect the Red Bulls to be so competitive today in these first 2 sessions, because they have also brought upgrades for themselves this race weekend. We don't necessarily know what those are. Do you have any indicators of what those are, Mark? Because I haven't heard much.
Sorry, just repeat the question.
Red Bull's upgrades. Do we know what they are?
They've only got 2 upgrades this weekend. I'm just going to go quickly back and just try to remember. I think it's to do with the rear, just underneath the rear wing. I think it's the one. Yeah, I think it's the one's the diffuser. I just want to quickly check. I'm trying to just go back. There we go. Here we go. So yeah, the one is the floor edge. So the edging of the floor near the back of the car has been slightly adjusted, as well as the diffuser, as you say. So the diffuser and the floor edge has been upgraded slightly on the Red Bull car for this weekend. So yeah, a car that's already dominating the rest of the field is getting further upgrades that are just going to make it even better. So for the rest of the field, they're all going, bit of a problem this.
Yes, just going over a bit of the upgrades that we've seen down the rest of the grid. I did just find that bunch of notes that we have on all of these upgrades coming this weekend. On the AlphaTauri that we are currently looking at, they have a new rear wing, which is hoping to increase performance of their car, as well as they have a new rear wing end plate. It has some interesting little flicks and aero diverters, which are just to really shape that air, how it reacts down that rear wing. Just carrying on down the grid, we have Aston Martin bringing 5 major upgrades. That is quite a big upgrade package from the Aston Martin team. They have a new front wing, also for performance for this race. Front wing end plates have also been changed, as well as the nose of their car. I assume the nose profile has been changed. The rear wing end plate has also been updated, as well as the beam wing on their car. They may be moving towards more of a Red Bull spec, just trying to copy what the Red Bulls are doing a little bit more. We already see how the side pods of their car are very similar to Red Bull, so they could also be trying to get a bit of an advantage through that double diffuser that Red Bull seem to be just really taking advantage of this year.
Yeah, and just to let people know that the timings they are seeing on the timing board right now are just the I think it's the laps being put in right now. So you are seeing basically the quickest lap at the moment, since we've just had to unfortunately refresh it, and that does not seem to have remembered its history. Just not our problem. It's been having problems all day, this tracker. So we will try and get that fixed for you ASAP. But nonetheless, so that you understand, Verstappen currently sitting in first place with a sub 115. The 2 Ferraris in second and third. Alonso fourth. Perez fifth. De Vries and Tsunoda 6 and 7. Russell in 8, Stroll in 9, and Norris in 10. And as I say this, Sainz is going around the track exceptionally quickly. He's just set 2 purple sectors coming towards the end of the track. Now coming on to that last corner there where every car has been bottoming out quite a lot. And you can just see quite a bit of shaking there on the car. Will he get the new fastest lap? It's going to be a 1:14.2. It is indeed the new fastest lap around today. So that's a fantastic lap there from Carlos Sainz.
Yes, very good lap there from Carlos. Someone though took his fastest middle sector. So is there someone else out there on a faster lap at the moment? Well, we'll have to see. Maybe in a few seconds we'll find out whoever that is. As we already see now, Charles Leclerc finishing his lap and going 0.028 seconds faster. Super close though from those 2 Ferraris at the moment. Just having a look in the Red Bull pit lane, it looks like the mechanics are having a little look under the floor of Red Bull's car.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, just see a whole lot of work just being done on the Red Bull now as well in the pits there. And we'll be right with you right now. Just going to take a small break. We will literally be with you in a minute time. So just going to change over now.
Hello and welcome back. Just had a small switch over there quickly, but we are now back live for this FP2 session. Max Verstappen currently topping those time boards ahead of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc put in quite a blistering lap time there, but was just pipped by Charles Leclerc at the last second, but it now looks like he has taken that top spot back. Just watching Logan Sargent going into the gravel there a little bit, making, just able to keep his car going, fortunately, but he will not be wanting to make a repeat of that too often. We also had a very good lap from Valtteri Bottas, who's currently sitting down in P5. Sorry, just to go over our top 5, we have Max Verstappen, P1, Esteban Ocon, P2, Charles Leclerc, P3, and Carlos Sainz P4, with Valtteri Bottas putting in that very good lap time into now P6, as we have Hulkenberg crossing the line, putting himself into P2 at the moment, 0.2 seconds off of the Red Bulls. This Haas is looking very, very competitive at the moment. Very, very good lap times coming in from a lot of the cars down the grid at the moment. Looks like we have quite a few midfield teams could be challenging for a bit further up the grid. Lewis is currently on an out lap, just slowing down to let some traffic pass. Is he on a set of softs? Yes, he is. So he'll also be doing some qualifying simulations very, very soon, as we have the Red Bull of Max Verstappen going back into the pits. Mark, I see you back alongside me. What do you think of that lap time from Nico Hulkenberg?
That was very impressive from Nico Hulkenberg there. Of course, I think these lap times are going to decrease slowly but surely, but probably a good thing to see that they're much, much closer to the Red Bulls than they were this morning. Red Bull there of Max Verstappen putting in a new time of a 1:13.9. So a very, very impressive time there from Max Verstappen. But Hulkenberg, as you say, right near him. So very, very impressive that.
Yes, as well as the Alpine of Esteban Ocon seeming to be very, very competitive this race weekend. Only 0.3 seconds off of the pace of Max Verstappen. I mean, we saw at Otmar Safnauer saying don't discount those Alpines here in Spain. They still have quite a lot of pace underneath them. As we see now, Lewis Hamilton putting in a very good lap, currently taking the fastest first sector, coming now to finish the second sector, coming through turn 9, just kicking up a little bit of dust there as we see his rear wing is wide open. Let's see, second sector, 0.1 seconds off of the pace of Max Verstappen at the moment.
But the Mercedes is looking a little bit quicker.
Yes, I mean, they've made these changes to bring side pods onto their car. He's getting so close there, though, to the gravel, now making his way through turn 14, the last corner on the track, and approaching that next DRS zone, open wing, and he puts himself only down in P8. He lost quite a lot of time in that final sector. He lost about 5/10 in that final sector.
Yeah, it's a bit slow through that final sector there. I think that's just, because earlier Russell was complaining quite a lot about bottoming on that final corner. So maybe that was just either the car or maybe Lewis didn't quite hit it correctly. But not as quick through that last sector as he should have been, I think.
Just watching a replay here from Lewis Hamilton, maybe we can see a bit of that bottoming out taking place. Car looks quite stable, though, from these shots. But just watching there through turn 9, he does get quite wide. That will lose him quite a little bit of time going so wide there over that curb.
And just seeing a harsh of Magnussen going again, and he's already improved on some of his times there. So Magnussen doing very well then to 10th place, not as quick as his teammate Hulkenberg, is all the way up into 2nd. Russell now crosses the line in 6th, goes quicker than Hamilton, and 1:14 point. I can't quite say. I think it's 3. Not too bad there from George Russell. And if you guys are tuning in, welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. If you were in the earlier stream, let me know as well. Comment down below. I'd love to know if you guys are back again. And great to see you all here.
It looks like we do have our timing boards all sorted out now. So this is currently our accurate top 10. Max Verstappen, Nico Hulkenberg, Esteban Ocon, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz P4-5, George Russell 6th, Bottas 7th, Gasly 8th, Hamilton 9th, and Zhou Guanyu finishing off that top 10. We have quite a few drivers just a little bit out of sync at the moment. Some drivers finishing hot laps, some drivers starting hot laps. We have a few drivers also in the pits. We have Max Verstappen, Nico Hülkenberg, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Albon, Sargent, Perez, Stroll, and Piastri all in the pits at the moment. Mark, just having a bit of a look there, we have Sergio Perez only all the way down in P17.
Yeah, but he is one of the few cars who's not run a single lap on a set of softs. So still a medium tire lap there for Carlos Sainz. Not too much to worry about, I don't think, for the Red Bull yet. But still needs to get out there on softs and put in a quicker time. Otherwise, he's going to hang down there and people will start to get a little bit concerned.
Yes, I mean, Perez did not have the greatest weekend out there in Monaco last weekend. I wonder if that would have damaged his confidence a little bit. I mean, it certainly wasn't great the way he did perform there. He finished the race, I think, P16, P17.
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, it just didn't work for him at all last week. I mean, not only was it the fact that he had a crash in Q1, that was never going to help. But I think it was just, they had a big strategy and they were going to follow it, and then it was just thrown into a bit of chaos. As Alonso suddenly out of nowhere, by the way, puts in a fastest third sector and just puts in a 1:14.07. Fantastic.
Taking the fastest final sector there. Is that Valtteri Bottas out there? Yes, it is. Or is that Zhou Guanyu? No, it is Zhou Guanyu at the moment doing another hot lap for himself. I was just wondering if we saw Valtteri Bottas on another flyer. He did very, very well earlier on a less rubbered up track. So I'll certainly be very interested in watching him doing another flying lap very, very soon.
Yeah, less than half an hour away here. And, this is obviously the more accurate times in terms of qualifying for tomorrow that we're going to see from a lot of drivers. These are more of the quali sort of sims. And I really want to try and see very, very close times, because what was the one nice thing about Monaco, and everybody said, oh, it was a boring race yet again, and Max Verstappen went and won, etc., etc., etc. What was really good was qualifying. Best qualifying easily of the whole calendar so far. And I think, judging by the times right now, I think we might well be in for another very exciting qualifying tomorrow.
Yes, I mean, hopefully we'll get a 3, 4, 5-way fight for that pole position. I mean, that's what we've been hoping for since the start of the new regulations. We haven't really gotten it just yet, but I mean, at the moment, it looks like people are getting quite close to each other.
Yeah, indeed. And as people are pointing out in the comments, and be sure to go and let us know of any thoughts you guys have. But do you see a few clouds in the distance there? It's starting to look a little murky around Spain there.
I was talking about it in the beginning of the session. At the end of practice 1, we had quite a big rainstorm looking like it was going to make its way over the track. Still hasn't really made too much of inroads on the track. Maybe we might see it affecting the end of the session, but at the moment, it just still looks like beautiful sunshine out here in Catalonia.
Yeah, indeed. And following on Piastri here, he's currently sitting last on the grid. It's his first fast lap on a set of softs. And he's not too far away from Verstappen's time at the moment. I'd be very keen to see how it fares in the final little sector here. The McLaren, of course, needing to really, really improve. We say this every week, but he really does need to improve in the McLaren, not just Piastri, but also Lando Norris, just generally in those McLarens, not doing very well as he pushes himself into 11th Piastri as he crosses the line there. So not a fantastic time, but not the worst, I suppose.
Yes, not a bad little lap there from Oscar Piastri, currently ahead of his teammate of Lando Norris, who's currently down in P13. Lando is in the pits at the moment, so we should see him being turned around very soon and being put back out on track for another quali sim.
And we asked this question earlier, and we did it as a poll in the first practice.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Mark, but Perez has now finally finished his first flying lap on a set of softs. He's only down in P4.
Yeah, I know. It's still slower than the Aston Martin of Alonso and the Haas of Hülkenberg. That Haas time is very, very impressive at the moment. If he can maintain those sort of times, that'd be great to see. But
yes, he's on another outlap at the moment, so we could see him putting in some more fast times very soon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, all good, all good. What I was going to say is earlier in the first session, we were having a large discussion, and it was a great discussion to have with everybody in the comment section. I'd love to have a similar sort of discussion and just get your thoughts on it as well. We put a poll out. We said, who's been the biggest disappointment this season? Now, it wasn't limited to people; it was including teams. We said, so I think we have 4 options. I think it was Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, McLaren, and who was the other one? I think it was Ferrari as well. who would you put as your biggest problem?
So I was Max. Sorry, just listening to Max is on board at the moment. He just could hear someone's phone in the background while his engineer was talking to him on the radio. I mean, Max is really like he doesn't even seem like he's concentrating on driving at the moment. Sorry, just going back to your question there. I did speak about it a little bit in the end of that FP1 session. I think certainly my biggest disappointment so far, it has to be Lance Stroll. I mean, Fernando Alonso has been really, really extracting the absolute maximum out of that car. And Lance Stroll really is just falling so far back and just pulling his team results down. I mean, if he was able to consistently score in the top 10, Mercedes would not be within 1 point of them in the Constructors' Championship.
No, not at all. I mean, it is a problem, and I think that's something that needs to be sorted out as well. I also said in P1, I also said in practice one that Stroll is probably my biggest disappointment because it's just he's so far off the pace, as you say. Just going to answer a comment there. Ali's there saying, that was a quick trip to the office, Mark, is a question mark. Well, I actually just go and I teach part-time, so I just had to go and do a lesson and then back from the lesson and come back. And yes, we are back here for the main thing, of course, of the weekend, the thing we all look forward to. That is Formula One.
Yes, certainly one of my highlights every weekend is coming to watch the Formula One. I really do enjoy watching every single session and seeing how these cars evolve from P1 all the way to qualifying and the race. I mean, P1, we can have an absolute mismatch of teams and driver standings, and then it completely changes from P2 onwards. I mean, yeah, it's incredible how quickly these drivers and teams can change their cars around from P1 to P2.
Yeah, and people just asking what's happening with Mercedes. Everyone keeps asking this question. I got asked it many, many times. I certainly couldn't answer every single time in the first session. I'm not going to do it again if it should happen to become a regular question. But everyone keeps asking, what's happening with Mercedes? What's happening with Mercedes? And, well, we don't know quite as of yet because, you know, the upgrades are being, I mean, the first session was very much, I could see it was testing it out and making sure they could try and get the car in the best shape for the track. The second session, of course, they did the very early soft laps here, as we see all the soft lap times currently displayed on your board. They did the very early ones. So don't know how much grip they would have found in those times versus the rest. So I'd like to see them come out again on softs and see what sort of times they put in. Then we can sort of say, well, maybe that's the sort of pace they might be showing because we don't know as of yet, because we don't know how much fuel is going into the cars as well. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of unknowns at the moment, of course. Mercedes may just be doing their favorite activity, their favorite pastime activity. And what is that, Mark?
Sandbagging.
Yes.
Except for the fact that they shouldn't really be sandbagging because they just never seem to stop sandbagging. So,
well, I mean, as a driver, you can tell the potential in the car very quickly when you do get in, especially on a more traditional track like Spain. They have that benchmark from earlier on in the season from testing. So they should also have a lot of simulations that show how fast they should be able to go this weekend. Just having a look here on the onboard from Alex Albon, you can see those dark clouds are approaching so close at the moment into turn 13 and 14. Maybe we will get some rain in the end of the session.
I'd be very upset if we got rain in the session because nobody's really going to go out in the rain. I think it'll be a very, very depressing end to the session. As we see Stroll now, let's see how he can fare. Yeah, he set
quite a far bit off the pace, unfortunately.
But quite slow, as you say, yeah, in sector 2 and already going to be far down the grid yet again. So Stroll, once again, living up to that same thing that we're talking about, just disappointment. When is it going to change?
When Lawrence Stroll sells Aston Martin, that's when we'll see a change. Because unfortunately, I mean, your dad goes and buys you a Formula One team. Who do you think is always going to be in that second seat until the end of his ownership? I mean, of course, it's going to be you. He's gone and invested all this money. Ooh, looks like a lot of work going on in the Red Bull garage at the moment.
There seems to be
There's also a fire extinguisher at the ready there.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And also, is it just me? Or
It's Max Verstappen's car though, at the moment. So
yeah, but also I'm noting it's also very close to where they made their new upgrades. So is that a concern?
I think it may just be I think it's just part of a refueling procedure. I did see they did have the fueling hose in the car at the moment, so that would make sense as to why they had the fire extinguishers there at the ready. But I think it may just be them having a look at their upgrades, making sure it's all holding up to staying out on track. But it all looks very, very comfortable at the moment for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and not a very interesting driver profile there was just brought up of Fernando Alonso. I did have a laugh.
No, it was rather boring.
First job, and it said Carter. Well, yes, that's every single Formula One driver. And then says, what job would he have done if he wasn't an F1 driver? Cyclist. I mean,
well,
great. I'm so glad we got that information in. But anyway, we all love Fernando Alonso. So
I don't know why I keep getting Lando and Fernando's name very mixed up because they sound so similar, I assume. But yeah.
And I've done it quite a few times, and I always shake it off every single time I do it, but oh well. Just following here, McLaren's going around the track. I think this is Norris. Yes, it is Norris, yeah.
Yes, it is Norris at the moment, coming up to finish that lap. He is doing an outlap, so now he will be starting his first. It looks like he's doing race simulations. He doesn't have his rear wing open at the moment.
Yeah, and there's medium tires on as well. So, yeah. I don't think we're going to see any fast tires from Lando Norris for a little while. It could be race simulations, as we said. So don't watch that all too much. And somebody else just saying this, and I think it is that says Mercedes has pace. They just need to get the right setup. Well, I think that's probably true, but I think that's true for most cars. If you can get the right setup, of course you're going to find pace. So I'd be very intrigued to see how Mercedes do in tomorrow's qualifying, because that's going to be the first time we really see how well these upgrades have worked.
Yes, Lando, though, on this race, not too far off the pace of Max Verstappen's quality time, but I mean, just trying really, I'm sure they'll have it on high fuel at the moment, just trying to get some good data of how their car should handle in the race, as well as how long they should be able to keep on a set of medium tires. Yeah. 5 seconds at the moment off of that pace of Max Verstappen.
And we've got just 17 minutes and 45 seconds left of the session. So not too much time left for a lot of race sims. I'm sure we're going to start seeing some more quali sims maybe again, hopefully towards the end of the session, some more soft tire runs, you reckon?
I think quali sims may be done for the day, as I see Max Verstappen is currently on a set of mediums. So yeah, I think that is quali sims done for the day, but we should get some race sims coming in very soon. The race sims are arguably more interesting than those quali sims.
Well, obviously, if you can just remember the times, because the times obviously won't be much quicker than the quali sims.
No, they shouldn't be quicker at all, but it is very, very indicative for what should happen on the race on Sunday. I think Gasly at the moment is just complaining about those very dark clouds that look like they are incoming.
Yeah,
it looks like we have Ferrari also getting ready for a Ferrari test pit stop.
Indeed, and there we go. 1, 2, it's a good pit stop.
Yeah, look neat and tidy. I say that no one looks like they're going out on another set of softs, but I'm instantly proven wrong by Charles Leclerc.
Yeah. So Charles Leclerc's gone out in softs, and
he was out on a set of test tires, though.
Yeah, I suppose we haven't really seen the quickest laps be put in from the two Ferraris as of yet. So maybe we'll get a few more quali sims from them and see what sort of pace they've got. And my only reason why I'm more concerned with the quali sims than I am with the race sims, because whilst, of course, the race sims are more important in terms of finding the pace generally, I want to see if anybody can sort of knock Red Bull away from that first and second, because if Red Bull have to start in the, just a little bit further back, not on the front of the grid, maybe that causes a little bit of an issue. Maybe there's more fighting for Red Bull to be done. They can't hit it as hard in terms of those opening laps to try and build up a huge gap, and that makes for very interesting racing as well.
Yes, I mean, I say this over and over again. We don't want Red Bull to run away with the championship. We don't want them to be topping every session. We don't want them to always be the ones, who's going to take pole? It's going to be Max or Perez. It gets boring. Of course it does. I mean, we want to see other drivers fighting it out for the top of the grid spots, for the top of the race results, of course. We don't want it to be boring for the whole season.
Yeah, and we're just still focusing on those clouds. It does look dark, but it is somewhat quite far away. I don't think we'll see that rain hit the track as of yet. I think it'll probably stay away just a little bit longer, hopefully, so that we get the full practice session in. And John just asking, is Charles in the new car? Well, I don't think it's all that new, if I'm honest. He's got the
they were running the Ferraris on split strategies in the first session. Charles Leclerc was on the old spec, and Carlos Sainz was on the new spec. So getting some good correlation in the data on identical track temperatures, identical track types. So it will be giving them a lot of indicators whether that new designed side pods will work for their car.
Yeah, and just a funny little comment there, just saying, tell James Allison to start working on the 2024 car. So
yes. Just watching some of those race sims coming on from the teams now. Max Verstappen coming up through turn 9 to approach that DRS straight. DRS, though, not being open because, of course, he is on a race simulation. So when we say that drivers are on race simulations, that means that they are normally on their race tires that they'll be doing their longest stint in the race on, as well as they'll be fueled up heavily, so high on fuel, so they can see what their lap times will be like during the race. They often also do not open their rear DRS, because, of course, that gives them a big advantage on their times. They want to be seeing true data for the race on Sunday.
And I suppose somebody's comment here is just going to trigger a little bit of a discussion here. We're talking about quality, of course, tomorrow, this time, same time, on the channel. And be sure to subscribe and join us there as well. But somebody's just going and saying, you know, they reckon Alonso will beat Perez in qualifying. Now, I'm going to go a step further. I think that's more or less, and this is very, very brave from me to say, very, very brave. I think that's a given. And I'll tell you why, because the Aston Martin of Alonso today has looked very, very quick.
Well, I mean, the Aston's been very quick, as you say. I just think throughout the season, Sergio isn't as consistent as Fernando. And I think we may just see Fernando Alonso being able to just take a few more podiums on a step higher than Perez, and that may just change the results throughout the rest of the season. I mean, we talk about it. It is a very long season still ahead of us. We're only in round 8 of 22. Used to be 23, but unfortunately, we did have that Emilia-Romagna race being cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a big change, of course, especially for Mercedes, who are supposed to present their brand new upgrades at Imola. So, you know, they didn't get to do that. So that was quite upsetting. And I think that track would have also certainly probably favored the upgraded Mercedes as well in terms of trying to find some good time for them. So disappointing for Mercedes there. And I think, yeah, just generally, I'm hoping that Alonso and Aston Martin do end up on the front of the grid. And as you say, you know, a few podiums more for the rest of the season, because I do think that's probably the best car on the grid to challenge the Red Bull.
Russell just saying on the radio at the moment, some very light raindrops around turn 9. Turn 9 is that long right-hander before the second DRS straight. So that is very interesting to hear from George Russell. So that rain is certainly moving in. We have 11 minutes and 55 seconds left of the session. So we could, as I said, we could get some rain at the end of the session.
It's quite interesting now, as George Russell is the one who went and said it, by the way, because I've noted this season so far that he seems to spot weather very, very quickly, quicker than everybody else. He always seems to be the first one to note there's raindrops happening here, there's this happening here. He seems to be the only one that ever seems to be concerned with the fact that something's happened like that. I don't know if that's his personality or if he does happen to be the first one to notice, but he always seems to be the first one on the radio that says, there's light drops on this turn over here. I think there's a bit of weather coming in. This is a bit of a problem, because he did it in Monaco when that rain came in. He was the first one on the radio to go and say, hey, there's rain coming, and I can see there's drops on turn, I think it was 2 or turn 3, whenever it was in Monaco. So just noting that, it's quite interesting that he seems to be always the first one to note it.
I think it may just be a bit of a right place at the right time moment that is allowing him to give us that information. Just see here a very interesting graphic saying tire information. 2 additional sets of the new Pirelli hard tire will be available to test in FP1 and FP2 here today before their introduction at the British Grand Prix. So now we do know what compounds those test tires are that they were testing out here today.
Yeah. And I'm just following Lance Stroll here, and he's got softs on, and I don't know how much fuel he's got, and I don't know if this is a quali sim or a race sim, but I want to see if his wing does come open on the main straight as he comes towards the end of this, and I'm hoping it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. good, because otherwise I was thinking he's going very, very slowly. And as all the commentators are saying as well, and I think I tend to agree, there's lots of homework to be done for Lance Stroll, because he just doesn't seem to be racing very well at all right now.
No, I mean, we keep going back to Lance Stroll, one of my least favorite characters on the grid, unfortunately. But we just really have not seen a very competitive year for him at all. And I mean, when you've got your teammates all the way in P2, you're all the way down in P18, certainly you have to be questioning whether you deserve to be in the sport or not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, he's shown every now and then, very rarely, I grant, but every now and then he's shown that he can do a little bit. I mean, even in Monaco, he made quite a good overtake of Logan Sargent in an area I wasn't prepared to see an overtake. So that was an impressive little piece of driving. But again, he shows far too little of that. And I think he's far too cautious, if anything, as well.
I mean,
And
he had that good overtake. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Mark.
Yeah.
He had that good overtake. Granted, he had that great overtake, but he still crashed out of the race. He was the first retirement from the Monaco Grand Prix.
But that's what I'm going to.
He has great moments. We see that glimmer, but then he just he can't stay consistent.
But that's what I was saying. I was saying, you know, he's got moments in him that show like, oh, maybe he's good enough, but he's far too inconsistent, and he's too consistent with making mistakes. And that's, I think, the problem. Is he makes far too many mistakes, and not just like every now and then in a race. I mean, like every lap he seems to make mistakes somewhere. He doesn't have a perfect lap in him. I just don't feel he does.
No, I don't see that either. I mean, he's certainly not a qualifying driver. You get drivers that are exceptional in qualifying. Some drivers are just able to extract that little bit of extra pace that no one else is able to. We haven't seen that from Stroll. We get drivers who are brilliant in races, who are brilliant at looking after their tires and managing races.
Just a little bit of racing
at the moment, though, into turn one.
The Williams and the Haas getting very close together.
So close.
Oh, I love it. Just practicing the DRS. The Sergeant, I think it is, that we're on. Yeah, Sergeant trying to take the Haas of Magnussen. Yeah, it is Magnussen.
I think it's Magnussen there, yes. Yeah, but just going back onto that Lance Stroll chat, I mean, we get brilliance in the race, brilliance in qualifying. I don't see Stroll as either of those types of drivers, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of a problem. That Stroll. Problem is he's going to
be in a brilliant seat. He's in such a competitive seat, or a seat that should be competitive. And I mean, it's just so wasted. Put him in the Williams. I mean, really.
Well, speaking of the Williams, I do enjoy this attempt by Logan Sargent to use the DRS to overtake the Haas, as if he's ever going to have the opportunity tomorrow.
It's a bit stupid as well, though, isn't it? I mean, really, sure, get some data for the race, but don't take stupid risks that could cause your car to be completely written off before qualifying the next day.
Watching Carlos Sainz here bounce around on that car as he comes around that final, that second to last corner. I mean, it's a lot of bouncing happening, and as I say, it's not unique to any particular team. It's every single team seems to be struggling with it. It's just lots of hitting the floor there in that second to last corner. The corner they've literally changed. So interesting that.
Someone just saying, is Hamilton really racing Gasly? Of course, they're not racing at the moment. Everything is based on their fastest lap time.
I think they're talking more. Sorry, Reece, I think they're talking more about with regards to in the midfield.
Yes, I was about to move on to that now. But yes, unfortunately, the Mercedes just not able to extract too much pace at the moment, with Hamilton down in P11, Russell only in P8.
Yeah, I mean, Hamilton, I was currently on an outlap. Hopefully, we're going to see a little bit of quicker laps. Although, if he's doing race sims, not going to be much quicker.
Looks like we have Fernando Alonso currently doing some race simulations on a set of hards, just currently managing his tires through turn 3. We can hear he's on definitely on a race sim with those revs just being quite low through those tight corners. He's certainly not on it like he would be on a qualifying lap, but looks neat and tidy at the moment for a heavy fueled up lap.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to see these lap times get beaten anytime soon. Just make note of the times that get put in there. I'm seeing a lot of 119s and 120s being put in for most of the drivers. The Red Bulls not actually looking like they're much quicker on their race sims at the moment. So that's, I suppose, interesting to note, because they're setting 119.4, 119.4 again from Verstappen. Alonso's doing 119.8, 119.8, which I grant is
yeah, that's a big difference. 0.4 difference to lap.
I don't think Verstappen's on light and less fuel because Alonso's only just started doing some of these. So I think Alonso has quite a bit more fuel on the car at the moment. So it's not too much of a distance. I've seen quite a lot of 119s and a little bit closer there. I think the one Ferrari of Carlos Sainz doing 119.6 there. So it's still a gap, don't get me wrong, but hopefully a little bit closer because, with DRS, etc., and otherwise you can stay within that range.
Yeah, I mean, you could be able to just get the toe off the back of a driver here on this track, especially with all of these long corners that we have here. But Red Bull just still seems to be on the upper hand right now. I mean, gosh, they've really taken the 2023 season and just turned it on its head from the first race. They've, just been way too dominant for the beginning of a season.
So what you're saying is, in order for a good race to happen, we need to have Logan Sargent just go and kamikaze onto Max Verstappen as Max Verstappen attempts to overlap him.
I mean, I don't think we ever want to see a race leader being taken out, but I think what we need to see is these other teams starting to catch up, which I think they should be doing now with their upgrades, but we haven't seen the true potential just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see whether or not there is sandbagging from Mercedes. Personally, for me, I think it would be stupid to sandbag, given how bad their car has been this season. If they are sandbagging, I think that's very immature, because one would do it if they were really challenging at the top there just to hide it, because they can afford to hide it and then say, oh, look at how quick we suddenly are. Like, when you're so slow this season, if you're still sandbagging with these new upgrades, I would have a serious issue with it, even as a fan and as other people, because why? What reason do you have to be sandbagging?
I mean, there are a few valid reasons why teams do sandbag. I mean, it gives other teams a bit of a false sense of hope or false sense of security, really. And then you can come out with your true potential pace and kind of just blow them out the water, and they can't do anything about it because they've set their setup. It is under park firmware. You can't make any changes, but the other teams will be faster than you. I think that's the mindset behind it, but in practice, it's a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that. My only problem is, say, with regards to Mercs at the moment. So who are they luring into false sense of security? The McLaren.
I know. Possibly.
So that's my problem, is the fact that they're not scaring anybody who they want to scare if they wanted to sandbag. So I'm sure they're probably not, and if they are, it would take me. If anything.
Why? Yeah.
Just following along here with the Red Bull of, I think this is Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that you're going to notice in a second has been cut away, Mark. Yes. To have a good look at Sergio Perez's dad sitting on the pit wall.
Yeah. So Perez coming around here, coming towards the end of his lap, just coming to that last sector. Quite a bit of traffic ahead of him. He sees that Alonso, Piastri, Bottas, Ocon, and Albon are all ahead of Perez. Hamilton just a little bit behind Perez. Stroll's got clean air to race in, though, and so does Sargent.
Esteban Ocon just saying on the radio, deployment is all over the place. Just talking about the ERS deployment, the energy recovery system, which just pushes some battery energy into the system when the mechanical engine is lagging a little bit. Just saying that it's not deploying when he wants it to, which can affect your confidence in certain corners. But yeah, I mean, still looking quite comfortable out there on track.
Yeah, and we just entered the last 1.5 minutes of a P2. So practice session 2 will be finishing in just a little bit. And somebody just asking there, I heard an accent. Where are you guys from? Well, you heard an accent. You've heard two accents, and it's both the same sort of accent. And we are from sunny South Africa. Yes, I know, probably not the country you're expecting. But yes, we are South African. And we're bringing this to you at 6 o'clock in the evening, our side here.
Yes, 1 minute left of this FP2 session at the moment. Everyone just doing some race simulations at the moment, so no fastest lap times will be put in, unfortunately. But our current timing board looks a little bit like this. Max Verstappen taking the top spot at the moment with a 1:13.907, closely followed behind by Fernando Alonso, 0.17 seconds off of the pace of Max Verstappen. Then a big shakeup in third place. We have Nico Hülkenberg, 0.2 seconds off of Max Verstappen's fastest time. Certainly not who I expected to be in the top three. We then have Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen's teammate, down in P4, 0.3 seconds off the pace of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and I think we've just, I don't know if you saw that, Reece, there. Red Bull just did a practice pit stop there on, I think it was
Max
Perez there.
Verstappen. Oh, sorry,
It was
Sergio Perez. Yes.
Verstappen starting his lap now, I see. But Perez just did a practice stop. It was very, very quick. I don't know if you noticed that. It was a fantastic practice there for Red Bull. So they just can't seem to get anything wrong.
No, I mean, they really have everything down to a fine art at the moment.
And yeah, we have just waved the the checkered flag here to the end. P2, so practice session 2 is now officially over, and drivers will make their way around to probably do a few practice starts and then make their way to the pits. So that ends the session for the day, the second session for the day at least. And I see a few people there in the comments saying SA as well. Yes, I see a few SA fans from Botswana, etc. Somebody asking, they're new to F1, what's there to learn about Haas? Well, Haas has probably got the funniest team principal on the grid, so he's quite enjoyable to watch. Other than that, not much to speak about. But yes, Reece, your highlights from today.
Well, I mean, certainly very impressed with the pace from that Haas of Nico Hülkenberg, putting himself so close to the Red Bull and the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. So he's certainly my takeaway of the day. That is for sure. I mean, also very shocking to see the fact that the Mercedes with those new upgrades are not as competitive. Also with the likes of those Ferraris not currently very close to the top of the timing boards, only being in P6 and 7th.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari, not a fantastic day for them, as you say. And also Mercedes with their new upgrades, not very high up. But as I say, I do think they went out in soft tyres first. And as we saw, everybody going a little bit later in terms of doing their quick lap attempts did seem to do better than the earlier ones. So who knows? I think Q3 is going to be practice session 3 is certainly going to be an interesting one to watch, and of course, be sure to tune into that tomorrow, as I think that's when we'll see the pace of these cars truly unleashed. No more sandbagging, if there is anywhere on the grid.
Yes, just watching a few practice starts at the moment, but we will be signing off shortly from the end of this practice 2 session. Just watching on board at the moment with Nico Hülkenberg, looking like he got a little bit of a rear slide there, getting out of his grid box in that first stage of the start for him. But otherwise, a lot of other cars starting to line up now to do their practice starts.
I've just also noting here, and I think I've just gone very dark, so I might have just disappeared ever so slightly on.
Yes. Just watching Nick de Vries getting his practice start underway there, looking neat and tidy for him. No real wheels spinning for him. Just watching on board with Carlos Sainz waiting behind a massive queue at the moment. A lot of cars out on the grids right now waiting to get their starts underway. Just waiting for Carlos Sainz to start. Revs go up. Clutch gets released and he gets away neat and tidy. Looking very, very comfortable for him at the moment. Getting very well underway there. FP2, though, is now officially over, and our top 3 are as follows. Max Verstappen in first place, Fernando Alonso in second, and Nico Hülkenberg in third. I will talk you down the rest of the grid, though. We have in P4, Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon on P6, Esteban Ocon P5, Leclerc P6, Carlos Sainz in P7, George Russell then in P8 for the first in the Mercedes, once again outperforming his teammate in a practice session. Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo in P9, Pierre Gasly P10, Hamilton in P11, Oscar Piastri P12 ahead of his teammate, Zhou Guanyu down on P13, Lando Norris P14, Kevin Magnussen the second Haas all the way down on P15. Quite a big change from Nico Hülkenberg to Kevin Magnussen. Nick de Vries then in P16, Yuki Tsunoda P17. Our biggest disappointment of the season, Lance Stroll down in P18th. Logan's just listening to the official broadcast, throwing me off there a little bit. Alex Albon in P19th and Logan Sargent down in P20.
Yeah, and guys, thank you so much for watching this practice session on Forever Motorsports. I am back, Reece, in case you hadn't noticed.
Yes, I did.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And yeah, I've got no more final comments. Reece, you got any final comments?
Well, I mean, we didn't get that rain that we were expecting, which was quite disappointing. I was hoping just to shake things up a little bit at the end. I doubted people were going to get some running in the rain, But I mean, glad to see that we did get a dry session running throughout. Lots of upgrades, though, to talk about for sure throughout the rest of this weekend. Whether they will be able to make those upgrades work, though, is the big question. So far, the Mercedes not making those upgrades work for them as we had hoped. Those Ferraris as well, just seeming off the pace at the moment.
Yeah, and so my final comment is not too much to learn from today. Hopefully we'll see a lot of it tomorrow in practice 3 and in qualifying, of course. So thank you guys so much for watching Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. I have been Mark, Reese has been Reese, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Goodbye.